I'm watching this because someone recommended it to me. Like I've seen an episode maybe in the past when the show was new. I didn't really think much of it, but someone just recommended it so highly that I felt like, okay, I need to watch this show, and give my thoughts and notes and opinions. I can't guarantee I'll like the show. Like I don't remember having like a strong opinion on the first episode, like the episode that I saw when, and that was like me viewing it as like a consumer, and now like this is me trying to view it from like a standpoint of artistry, I guess, like critique or review or whatever. So like I look at it through a different, I will have to look at it through a different lens. But also I'm of the belief that like if you look at something in the right lens, even a movie or piece of media you hate or despise or think is bad can prove to be valuable in like teaching you something. You know what I mean? Like if you eat a food that you like all the time, sure, there's nothing wrong with that. Hell, I do it all the time. But if you eat foods that you don't like, it does two things. You have an appreciation, or you grow an appreciation for the foods you do like, but also you learn what you don't like, so you never have to come across it again. You know what I mean? Okay, so already I can tell I will either have strong feelings about this episode or have an enjoyment of it. It depends on how it's done, because like there is like this, I don't want to say genre, but there is this like climbing sort of like social commentary. It's not new, but like it's becoming, I think, more like prevalent as like people grow dissatisfied with how things are going in life and society. But like there's more and more stories. You'll have the cyberpunk animated show, which, like if you're dumb you don't really look deeper into it, but is a class critique. You have Parasite, but like I feel like foreign movies very more often than not do class critique more often. But no, there's a good way and a bad way to do it. There's a good way to do it, which again I don't know how they're going to do it yet, but there's a good way to do it in the sense that like it is a genuine class critique, and you could make the argument that like because of the system that we live under, it is difficult to make true critiques. Like for example, one of the more jarring, not jarring, but like a bad example of this is, I think, in the first episode of the Harley Quinn animated show. I don't remember it because like I just remember it catching me off guard. The Joker at one point like says like, oh, something about billionaires or something like that, or like alludes to billionaires being bad. And I think that's a very shallow critique, because inherently, one, it's just like very surface level, sort of like, oh, like it's almost like the, what was that trend, the about that African warlord thing that like everyone talked about, but like no one gave a shit about after a year. Kwame 20 something, 2012 or whatever. It was just like it felt like that, where it's just like, oh, the Joker saying that like billionaires are evil or bad is like very much like, oh, this is just what you're supposed to say. And then you'll have like critique that's very much on its face, like what's it, Parasite, that is very like, you people very often will like try to separate, well, because they have no actual media literacy, but which not their fault anyway, but because they have no real media literacy, they very often consciously and subconsciously will remove the subtext and the point of a piece of media, because a bad piece of media, whether you're writing it or consuming it, will tell you everything about it. A bad piece of media, like in writing, there's a thing called show, don't tell. Don't tell the audience how to feel. Don't tell the reader how to feel, show them. And if you do a good enough job, you will be able to show them without telling them appropriately. So a good piece of media will show you, like, it will lead you, not all media of course, but it will lead you to a conclusion of the creator's desire, that if done right, it will feel like you got there on your own. All of that to say is, just in that first scene, they have shown that this will be a commentary on class. You see this big, beautiful city, lights, and then it pans down and it's like, oh, here is the poors. Here's like the destitute, the lows of society. And if done right, it can be a very powerful message. If done poorly, it can just be some milk toast fucking, oh, like there's poor people in the world, but like they just have to work harder, and then they could be on that other side of the city. But I won't get into like why that's a dumb analysis of anything anyway. The art style reminds me of a little bit of Arcane. I wonder if they're like the same animators worked on Arcane as this, or like maybe Netflix just has its like own in-house animators that they use for like all their original projects. It's great though. I love it.
She's magnificent.
Yes, she is.
Guys, I think I don't know how to say this, but I think she may be gay. Is that woke?
Of course, my apologies. She. What would you say if I...
And pronouns? Woke garbage.
I don't dive. And I don't lose.
And what makes you so special?
Not special. Unique. No other team uses a female.
I would love for her to define the difference between those two words.
500,000.
No.
One insignificant loss for more money than you could ever win?
I don't got enough pride. I would have been like, how many zeros is that? Let me count them out. Uno, dos. Okay. 500 just to lose. Like, you want me to make it look good? Like, I can lose on the first punch. Like, whatever you need me to do, I got you. But I guess like there's no guarantee that like he'll actually pay you the money. Like, he looks like a sleazebag who would, promise you something and then, give you nothing in return. I don't know, maybe I just don't trust men who have like a fucking Bill Belichick levels of age gap between him and his like girlfriend.
A year ago, Sonnie got snatched by an estate gang. And when they was done using her, they started cutting, slicing their marks into her flesh. Can you imagine that kind of pain, that kind of humiliation carved into her skin? A lifelong reminder of that.
That's insane. I also like the touch of them showing how desensitized she is by just having her casually walk on glass, and she's obviously bleeding and making no reaction. Like, that's such a subtle touch and a hallmark of just good storytelling to be able to, like, again, to show and don't tell. Like, yes, they are telling her story of her, being kidnapped and trafficked and assaulted and stuff like that, and it's all horrific, but like, that's also, you don't have to show the insane. And like, I'm not someone who's like, oh, you have to tell art or stories in this very specific way. Like, stories can't have XYZ, like, I understand that, like, it may be triggering to some people, and I completely get that, and not all art is for everybody, you know what I mean? Like, as like a black person, I personally don't really watch a whole lot of stories that like show slavery. I saw them when I was a kid. I've gotten enough of them. You know what I mean? Like, not every story is going to be for every individual, but there are ways to show things that you don't have to convey some of the like really gross and awful things. It's just a matter of like being creative about with it, but also the subtlety of her friend regaling this horrific thing that happened to her and showing just how dead she is physically and emotionally, to just have her walk on glass. I could walk on glass with thick Doc Martens on and it'll take me out for 20 minutes. It's and I'm scary in person. I mean, I'm a cute little devil boy, but if you see me out in these streets, you crossing the street, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, that was a nice touch. Unfortunately, I feel like this is a story that is going to show that, unfortunately, no matter how much you fight, because of the structure of society, you can't fight against people in positions of power. And typically, to get into a position of power, you have to have money. So, poor people are shafted in the end in real life. That's fucking sick. Are those like tattoos, or are those just like visuals for the audience?
Gore galore!
Alright, I have to go back because something just like processed in my mind. So,
what a sweet little girl. You're going down, down, down.
So this is just like a random thought I was thinking. It is insane as like a human being or person. Like, I have my own traumas and issues and stuff like that, of course. And, I won't trauma dump to a bunch of strangers on the internet. But it must be quite just horrific to go about life. Because I know how difficult it is for me as someone with my own traumas to go through life and have to like navigate like the things that trigger me that aren't even necessarily someone else's fault. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I can get triggered and it send me into a spiral, or like I start to beat myself up, or I become like this internal rage and angry. And like, I'm a big person, and I've always been a big person, so I've always had to navigate life of like, don't be intimidating, don't like make yourself an easy target for people to be threatened by you, and then like your life be in danger because of people fearing you. And I say this because we were just told that Sonnie has horrific sexual trauma, an insane amount. And it took me a moment to process my thoughts when I first saw him doing this. I was like, why would they do that? You know what I mean? Because like, nothing in media is ever an accident. It's never accidental. It is always intentional and on purpose. It goes through multiple stages and multiple people going like, is this scene right? Especially if they had like a writer's room. It goes through multiple steps of, should we use this scene, or what scene should we go to complement the previous scenes or the character in some way. Everything is intentional. So him doing this, one, could serve multiple purposes, as like to make you hate him and be on Sonnie's side. Of course, writers want you to root just for Sonnie. That's fine. But then like, also like, to make you hate him, but also at the same time, it is to, and maybe this is me overthinking, but to like show that scene after being like talking about how much trauma she has is such an interesting choice, because not only is it like gross just in general, but like, is it also to like make Sonnie fight harder? Like, I get it. Like, I'm so curious, because like my overall point as I was processing that, it was just like, oh, that was gross, especially after, I mean, even if she didn't have trauma, it would be gross, but even like after explaining what has happened to her, and then to have that scene, it's like, oh wow, it made me bubble up and think like, to experience that kind of trauma and then go through society as someone who is just going to be sexualized no matter what they do, and you have to relive your existence as like someone who was not in control of their body, like they were used as some sort of like object for desire. And even though you're out of that situation, you're no longer there anymore, this beast of a man is like using you for that desire, and there's like, you just have no control over it, you know, like you just have to deal with it. Yeah, and it sucks. And I also have like mixed feelings about like, you know, whenever TV shows use like the black guy as like almost like a beast kind of thing, you know what I mean? I don't know, it gives like very, not to say that this show is doing that, like a lot of like racism can be very subconscious and like internal, and like we don't even realize we're doing it. But like, if I'm going to talk about the subtle issues that like, you know, an oppressed group can go through, it's like, I think like it is also fair for me to be like, oh, like as a black person, this is something I struggle with and deal with internally when I see things like that. I don't know, I just think like there's way to do things, but I don't know, like in a perfect society, it wouldn't matter what race he is, what race she is, blah, 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 but we aren't there yet. So because we aren't in that kind of society, it is important to take note and understand, especially when you're writing or consuming media, or like the person who is making that media or has a hand in creating that media, to go, am I perpetuating something? You know what I mean? Like whenever I write something, I have to go, is the woman character I'm making, are they human? You know what I mean? Is this not like she breasted down the stairs, breastily with big titties, breastily? You know what I mean? Like I don't write that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, you don't know that. You haven't read any of the things I wrote. But I don't write things like that. But I also try my best to make sure all the women that I write are human. You know, it is at times a lot easier for me to write things from the perspective of like a person of color, and that is leagues easier. But at the same time, I often have to go, very often when I write a character, I will be like, is anything I've written about them, do they need to be the gender that I imagine in my head? No? Okay, well, let's switch their gender, simply because like it adds nothing. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't add anything. You know, and like you can have characters that are specific race or gender presentation or whatever, and it adds something to the story. I think, again, you just have to be mindful of it. You know, like, are you adding something? And if you are adding something, are you portraying something in a way that's like harmful in a way? You know what I mean? I know a lot of people want to like think of media as like this escape, but everything you consume is inherently political. I hope what I'm trying to convey is being conveyed. Also, you would think that there would be more barriers if they're going to fight with like giant monsters, right? Like, this is a cool fight, don't get me wrong. This is like almost an anime level of like well animated, and I'm a fan. But, like, you think that there would be more space in between them and like dying, I guess. Speaking of like being mindful in like writing and stuff like that, I think because I look at things from the perspective of being a person of color, being black, I also look at things like how black people are portrayed. And I talked about like, you know, a black man being portrayed as like this animalistic sort of like, you know, heathen sort of like to sexualize and demonize this poor white woman kind of thing. And then I realized and like remembered it like a process of like I have no problem that like this character, the black woman here, is like outspoken. I think like, you know, there should be like outspoken female characters, but I think also something that like I am always weary of when it comes to be like portraying black characters is how black women will be sexualized. It is unfortunate and a very heartbreaking reality that like we live in a society that will sexualize and demonize black bodies, but then especially black women, you know, just to be kind of like tossed aside. Like, there's this quote that like I'm going to butcher that I can't really remember. It's essentially everybody likes black culture, but don't nobody like black people. And what I mean by that is that like it is absolutely always okay when like to one, not give us credit for things, but to not like to take aspects of our culture and really just burn it into the ground until like it's lost all meaning. What I mean by that is that like, again, it is always mindful. And there's nothing wrong with like a woman, you know, expressing autonomy and wearing revealing clothes. Of course, that's not what I'm pointing at. Because in a perfect society, women could wear whatever they want and it'd be okay. Women would be respected no matter what they wear and things would be okay. In a perfect society, black women and all women, no matter their race, would be respected and have their autonomy respected. More of the story, or at least my diatribe, is that like I realize that like, oh, she's not wearing a shirt. And I noticed that earlier when she was talking to the rich dude or whatever, and I was like, oh, nice titties. But I am so used to, and I think that's my point with my channel in general, is to like analyze things on a much deeper level than like just like, ooh, like let me take in the lights and shapes, but to think about things deeper and try to find the meaning, especially in when it comes to TV and movies, because every single part of TV and movies is intentional. Like, you know what I mean? Like, none of this is done by accident. Like, that is an intentional choice that like they gave her that outfit design. And one, I want to, as a writer, learn what I like and what I don't like, but also the deeper meaning behind every single choice, whether I like it or not, form an opinion and improve upon my own works. So with that being said, to finalize my point, I realized earlier that she had her breasts out and I was like, oh, nice titties. And I didn't think about that any deeper, but I can't have that cap on anymore. Or at least I don't, like, obviously you can just enjoy things and that's okay, but I don't want to have the cap on of just like taking in shapes and colors. I want to be like, okay, but why, you know? And I have to look at things as not like necessarily just as like a person of color man, but like especially as just like a man and taking in like, ooh, nice titties. I have to like, okay, but why that choice? Because if I can talk about what I don't necessarily like from a perspective as a man, I should also keep that cap on and be like, okay, but why would they choose this for like a black woman? You know what I mean? Like, everything has to be analyzed in that way. Not everything, but like for the purposes of my channel, yes. It is absolutely okay to just enjoy a thing and take in the shapes and colors, but that's not what I want to do here. Oh, I thought she just killed a bunch of dudes. Also, this is cool as fuck, like very Doc Ock type shit. Type shit.
Come on, motherfucker!
This is such a well choreographed fight. Like, maybe it's not even choreographed. I don't know. Like, I don't know if whenever, even in animation, a fight has to be choreographed by like a professional, but whoever did this, it's cool to like have like the spikes like pew 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 pew. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's cool. You should have took that 500K, I'm gonna be real with you. Never mind, I was always on her side. She did a great job. I'm so proud of her. I always believed in her. That was also cool as hell. But also, I know they're monsters, but I low-key feel bad for them. You know what I mean? Like, more than likely, they're, like, minding their business and they're fucking captured or made specifically genetically engineered to be fought. And it's like, ugh. So, like, even in, like, media where, like, the humans are, like, destitute or, like, you're supposed to be on their side, like, a part of me is like, ugh, people are a plague on the planet.
Cheating, that's what it was. Yeah, boys, wait a phone. That's not against the rules, is it?
Yeah, I just want to know how they engineered that solid piece, that's all.
Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. I don't know. Like, that's so dumb. That feels like such a trap. I don't see that going anywhere well. You know what I mean? Like, you don't gotta be controlled by your hormones.
Can I help you?
This.
Oh, she's in a place she's not meant to be. Never mind. Okay, I'm back on your side.
Look, why
Also, she reminds me a lot of Vi for some reason. From Arcane, obviously.
are you with
Dicker?
Why do you think? Come on, that's a dumbass question. He has money.
Security?
Told you.
You could come with us.
And be poor? What? No. I'd rather go grow old man balls. Like, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm already poor, but like, if I had to choose between my current life and being gay for pay, I'd give it some genuine thought.
But I'll never be like you.
Alright, y'all gonna kiss or what? Come on now. Trying to figure out if I can keep this part in the YouTube video. Never mind, they're holding hands. Can't keep it in the YouTube video now. Too woke and gay.
You don't come into this world with
For free is crazy. But I guess that's also to probably just show the disparity between them. One is barefoot, confident. One is elegant, pretty, and scared, and blah, blah, blah.
That night, the gang,
rape. Yeah. It's not that. They can't see past it. No one can. But it ain't what gives me my edge.
I want to maneuver within this very delicately. I think it is interesting that, like, because they're having a conversation about, like, how she is so, like, I guess vastly different from her, like, the dainty one. And, like, is it, like, how she, like, how, I'm going to call her Cindy. What's the name's Edge? I forget her name. Discard one who reminds me of Vi, and they're having a conversation, and I think it's interesting that, like, they got to like a touchy sort of subject about Sonnie's assault, and it is interesting how they like portrayed it as like, oh, no one can look past it, even though like in some ways, like, I think they're alluding to, and I could be misunderstanding, that they're alluding to like, I'm beyond those things and stuff like that, especially during like a scene of while she's like, Sonnie is trying to initiate intimacy. And I think like there can be something said for survivors of assault who struggle with reclaiming that intimacy and autonomy that comes with being able to have sex with whoever you choose to and consent to have sex with, but also like people being unable to treat you not like damaged goods. And I think there's something to be said about that in a way that's like interesting in this dialogue that they're going through right now. I can't show none of this, but it's well animated, I will say that. You know what I mean? Whoever drew that erect nipple did a great job. It was very realistic.
Are you scared now?
Okay, what a fucking plot twist. Like, I knew it was a setup, but like just the way they did it, I was like, oh, okay. Like, you know, maybe like this is like a dainty girl who, you know, like wants to get out, but she can't. And I guess like Sonnie, I was tricked because my penis. But also a good life lesson. Don't trust pretty white women.
What are you?
Holy fuck, that's intense. So what a horrific life.
Fear is my edge.
Oh fuck yeah. Oh, I was so worried for a moment that like the bad guys weren't going to get their comeuppance. I need stories for my own mental health where the bad guy is punished, and they did such a good job just now of making me feel like, oh no, like they're going to get away with it. Thank you. Yes. like, I know it's like very like Marvel-esque, you know what I mean? And I get it. Like, maybe it's very American of me. And I can absolutely handle stories where like the good guy loses. I can handle that. But in life, more often than not, the good guy loses. So it is nice, even if in stories, to feel like, oh, there is justice. I'm going to rewind it again.
Are you scared now?
Holy crap, that was a great episode. That was phenomenal. That I can't express how well done that episode was. Every step of the way, I felt like it was well animated, the sound design, like the monsters were well designed, like every little bit of this was so good. And like I was expecting to like, because I saw this episode was only like less than 20 minutes, so I didn't think that I would have as much commentary as I did, and I ended up like taking like an hour to watch this, you know what I mean? So like this might have to be just one video in of itself, because there was just so much there that I was like so impressed by, and I had to talk about, that I like needed to express like ideas with. And it was just, oh, that was so good. Like character design was good, the tattoos, like the lighting, the cyberpunk, like I love cyberpunk like aesthetics, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it can feel overdone, but like this had like a bit of a mix of like his outfit was like steampunkish, but like their outfit was like cyberpunkish. So like that could have been a commentary on like yes, they're in like this cyberpunk dystopian, but like people with like old money, you know, or people like rich people have this like old money about them that like they want to stick to like old timey stuff, you know what I mean? Like there was a vast disparity between like, you know, how like the like you have to make a lot of inferences because it's only a 17-minute, you know, one-off episode. So like there's a lot of like, there has to be a lot of like, you know, vagueness but also intent behind everything that you see, because they want you to pick up on lots of things and make your own inferences, you know what I mean? So like the vastness, like the disparity between like the people in the slums and like the rich man, you know what I mean? But also like like him, you know, plotting to kill this person, you know, and then begging for his life. Like the audacity of like, you know, sending your like cyborg girlfriend thing to like have an opponent who beats you killed because you can't get your way because you're a rich pompous fuckwad who is used to getting whatever they wanted when they wanted it. So the one time you're denied something and now it's like, oh, please don't hurt me. You know what I mean? And like that's in a commentary in of itself about how a lot of like people in the upper caste of society, if they even experience like a fraction of the pain that they dished out, a lot of them would probably like unalive themselves or whatever. Sorry to use TikTok speak, but I think there's just so much there in a 17-minute episode that like it's a great start to this show that like, oh my god, like there's just so much going on. And I don't know if every episode is going to be this good. It is set up a bar that like may or may not be able to be like topped. Will every episode reach this peak of like, oh, I have so much to say? Because like you could make an entire like comic book or even like a mini series of just like this world right here, you know, like what's up with the monsters, more depth into Sonnie's backstory, you know, like you don't have to like show the like more graphic parts, but like, you know, what's her lore, what's like that old man, you know what I mean? Like even a villain can have an interesting backstory, of course. Who was that girl? Like were they all robots? Like where is Sonnie? You know what I mean? Is she like I think they alluded to like her brain, like the body she was using was just like a bunch of wires connected to a spine. Okay, so is her consciousness like uploaded into something somewhere? You know, like where is Sonnie? Like I might need to like go back and try to understand like what, like where is her body kind of thing. Again, like this is all you get, I'm assuming, so where can it go? And I'm excited to watch more, of course, you know, like it was so well done. Like I vehemently impressed, Jesus Christ, both insanely impressed. That was so good, you know, like yeah. I hope that like it can keep up this pace, you know what I mean? Like even if later episodes are, but with that being said, I appreciate you, because I'm just going to make this like a standalone episode because it's like probably going to be like 30. My commentary may be as long, if not longer, than the runtime of the actual episode. No one can say I didn't meet the criteria for fair use. But anyway, I digress. I hope whatever I said was entertaining or mildly amusing. If it was, consider liking or commenting or subscribing, please, because I definitely need the validation. I'm just a baby boy a demon baby boy who needs the validation, you know? I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if there's anything you would want me to watch and comment on. I'll let you know if I've seen it or not. But yeah, thank you and peace.